I want to tell a quick story about something that was funny, but then it wasn't really funny. So one day on a Saturday morning, I was at my home and I was getting ready to do my lawn, get ready to cut the grass. And I lived in a neighborhood where there were some pretty affluent houses, nice homes. And I was the only black person in the neighborhood in every direction. So, there was a lot of white folks in my neighborhood. So one Saturday morning, I decided to cut my grass. Just a beautiful Saturday morning, beautiful Saturday morning. Some of the folks in the neighborhood knew me. They saw me, see me around, wave, what have you, so they knew we lived there. You couldn't miss our home because our home was so prominent, just a very beautiful home sitting right kind of dead center in the neighborhood, in a golf course community. So on that Saturday morning, as I normally do, I let my garage up, got all my tools laid out, my edgers, the clippers, lawnmower, make sure it was gassed up and everything. And after I cut the grass, then I went and proceeded to cut the grass. And so after I cut the grass, then I started to do the edging, which is the fun part for me. You kind of just go around the edge and everything. So, but when I was in the front of the yard by the curb, something crazy happened. So out of the corner of my eye, I see some folks coming down the street. They're walking toward me. And as they get closer, one gentleman kind of looked familiar to me, a younger gentleman. He probably missed his late 30s, something like that. But then he had two older people with him. So I assumed those were his parents. Just the way they looked. They kind of looked like each other. So as they got closer up to me, mind you, my garage is open. I got my tools laid out. I even got a cable coming from my edger all the way to the garage. I think I had an electric edger at the time. So it was very obvious I was at my home. It wasn't like I didn't have a landscape truck, none of that craziness. Would you know that as it got closer to me, the older gentleman that was walking with them, he blurts out, "Excuse me, how much do you charge to cut everybody else's grass around here?" I froze because I did a double ear take. I'm like, huh? I said, "Excuse me?" He says, "Yeah, how much do you charge to cut everybody else's grass around here?" And I just froze. I froze. But I looked over at the young gentleman that was with him, who I kind of recognized from the neighborhood. He turned red. And they were a white couple, white family. He just turned red. And the only thing I heard him say was, Dad, he lives here, Dad. Come on. And he literally grabbed his father and like Harry scooted him on and say, he was like, he didn't even apologize to me, which is okay because I think it was so awkward to him. He just wanted to get away from the situation. And the thing I got from that was that the older gentleman, I don't think he meant anything by it. I think that's what he was used to. That was his generation. To see me out there like that, a black man in this white neighborhood cutting grass in this big, beautiful home. I had to be the landscaper. I had to be the help. But I wasn't. And for a long time, that bothered me. It bothered me. I told people about that. They were like, "What?" I told people about that. But at the end of the day, I've got a lot of stories for the skin that I'm in. And it's not about race. It's about my stories. It's about my truth. Because in that moment, I could have said something to that gentleman. I could have threw back some choice, colorful words to him and his whole family, everybody. But I didn't. I let him make it. I let him make it because the son asked me to let him make it by the way he grabbed his dad. Funny story, but not so funny. So be careful of folks that you perceive as being in a certain class or being of a certain, place in your life. And there's nothing wrong with landscape. I love landscaping. In fact, I was raised on landscaping. My granddad and me, we would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go landscaping for a couple of dollars because he was a hustling man out of Fort Worth, Texas. But my landscaping days are behind me where I did it for money. Now I landscape because it's in my yard. So with that, I'll let y'all go. But I thought I'd share that story. It had my blood boiling at the time. But at the end of the day, I let him make it. Because that's who he was. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.